So that's 1, 2, 3 stories above what we're looking at.
Wow.
All right? You're looking at the basement here. And I think the way this is working is the kitchens and the laundry and heating and all that is downstairs in the part of the house that's still standing. The living quarters were all the part that's been knocked down. And when they knocked it down, they figured, apparently, we're not carting this all away. We're just collapsing it into itself. So they use this downstairs basement as like a containment vessel for the superstructure of the house, which is gone. Again, look up a second. Look at all that. And now, in your mind's eye, put 3 stories on top of that. And then you're getting a sense of what this house was. If we were down there, where this pond is, okay, there's a little stream that was there. They dammed it up and built a pond. If you were down there, looking up at the house, it looked like this. So, where they're standing is up here on the house. And see this door here, the wooden doors on it, is this door here. And these folks in that window, that's the window they're looking out at. Right there. And like I say, I will pass these around. So we can go around. Another view from down there, looking up, is this. This is kind of our money shot in a way. And these photos, by the way, is the ones in color. What they are is they're black and white photos that somebody hand painted. You know, hand colored. They're sepia painted. Here's a black and white showing the pond and looking up at the house. The what? Hand colored? Oh, to build it? No, I don't. I do not. But it must have cost a fortune. Look at some of the details. Look at the stone work. All the water has that little raised red line on it. Yeah. Which is a separate detail that somebody spent hours and hours and hours doing. If those of you up there, you can maybe vouch for me. It's faded a lot, but there's like sort of a peach-colored patina to some of the cement you're standing on. And like I say, it's faded, but that's through the light. That was, and that's, you know, so there's that one around. Oh. Who owned this house? This summer house? It was this guy. Here's George. George Zabriskie. Now, who was George Zabriskie? Well, I have an obituary for him from the New York Times when he died in the 1950s. He had given up his summer house, you know, 20 years earlier when he died. But don't feel too bad for him. He still had his house on Central Park West, South rather. He had his winter house in Ormond Beach, Florida. This was just his summer cottage. He was a executive at Pillsbury, among other companies. He was in the flour business primarily. That's mostly how he made his dough. You see what I did there? But interesting character, though. I mean, he never married, that I know of. In fact, generally speaking, he had an aunt that lived with him, you know, and traveled with him. He founded, one of the founders of the Knickerbocker Country Club in Tenafly. You can have a place to go play golf when you're at your summer house, right? He was also an avid historian. Now, I guess you have to say amateur because it wasn't his profession, but he was in fact president of the New York Historical Society for years and years and years. Which is kind of huge, and that's one of the preeminent historical societies in the world, and he was its president. Here's a shot of one of his offices in the house here. This is the parlor in the house. I'll pass that around.
Did he have big parties? Is that why you need?
Oh, I'm sure he had huge parties here. And I'll tell you why I'm sure. Oh, this is the pond and some of his gardens. The gardens were up that way and around. Those can go around. Kind of a screen porch and a den or something. These can go around. Okay. So, and I'll pass George around too. The Briskys were a big Bergen County family, like I think there's land in the Steuben House, which the official name is the Brisky House. That was the Briskys, but they were loyalists. They were kind of kicked out after the revolution, and then came back. That's all. I'll let them tell that story. But our Zabriskie here descends from those families, original Dutch settlers. Why does it have a Polish name? Well, the Dutch were very multi-ethnic. A lot of people fleeing persecution in the 17th and 18th century Europe ended up in the Netherlands. And then some of them took the trip across the ocean to New Netherlands, which is basically the Hudson River Valley. But a lot of French Huguenots, the French Protestants ended up in the Netherlands first before they made the trip. There was even that crazy group of English people who went to the Netherlands and then they went on the Mayflower, right? They remember they launched from Holland. Anyway, so that's why you have a Dutchman with a Polish name. But that's his ancestry. He grew up in New York City though. And then I learned a few charming things about him, including the fact that if you were buddies with him, if you were amongst, I don't know, it's like 100 or 200 of his best friends, Christmas time, you wouldn't necessarily get a card from George Zabriskie, you'd get a book. He wrote books and had them published and gave them away to his friends, his Christmas presents. And he had one that somebody gave me, God bless them. It was about, colonial Christmas traditions. And it's like not a thick book, but it's a handsome book, woodcut drawings and so on. And along the way, I've been reading about him, and I heard one of the books he published, he named The Bon Vivant's Companion, and it was a guide to mixing cocktails. And I would love to see that. I mean, why not? And then the light bulb finally goes off in my head. I go, he was the president of the New York Historical Society. Of course they must have a copy. So Lindsay and I took a trip to New York City one day, and yes, they had his copy of it. But when he gave it out, it was pretty thick. And in his introduction to it, he reminds people, it's 1933, folks. Prohibition is ending. It's done. Let's celebrate. Here's some cocktails you can make. And then he has like a couple of hundred recipes for cocktails, including recipes like you asked, did he have big parties here? He has a recipe for eggnog for 40. With enough booze to like wipe out 140. So we made some pictures and some copies. Okay, so just in spirit of New Year's, I'm just going to read one or two things, because he also included little poems and anecdotes and stuff. So just in honor of George Zabriskie, the name of this estate was Cliffdale. That's part of the fun of having an estate, is giving it a name. This is Cliffdale. Although he took the name, it was already named Cliffdale when he bought the property. There was a guy named Baker who had named it Cliffdale in the 1870s. And this guy, Baker, was a chicken farmer. Well, sort of. He patented heating devices. He was from Maine. He was good at steam heating. And he developed a steam-heated incubation system for raising chickens in the wintertime. And he set up his farm just over there in Alpine, New Jersey, where the Alpine school is. And according to the Walker Atlas of 1876, he had, I forget how many, but it was a couple 100,000 chickens in Alpine, New Jersey. He was kind of the Frank Perdue of his day. And then, eventually, George Zabriskie buys the property and builds this big house in 1911. You saw the date stone, 1911.
How long did it take to build?
I don't know. I don't have details on the construction. I don't know what it cost. It cost a fortune. It had to take a while to build. And I don't know how many people he could afford to have working on it. Maybe they knocked it out faster than you would think. But it's a lot of handcrafting.
Is the rock from the Palisades that
Yeah.
they're chipping away at the Palisades?
I think so. No, I have a lot of mysteries about it. But just to give you a taste of the Bon Vivant's companion, here's a little poem in it where he reminds us, the horse and mule lived 30 years, and nothing know of wines and beers. The goat and sheep at 20 die, and never taste of scotch and rye. The cow drinks water by the ton, and at 18 is mostly done. The dog at 15 cashes in without the aid of rum and gin. The cat in milk and water soaks, and then in 12 short years it croaks. The modest, sober, bone-dry hen lays eggs for knobs, then dies at 10. All animals are strictly dry, they sinless live and swiftly die, but sinful, ginful, rum-soaked men survive for 70 years and 10. Endless content, but in any event, there's a lot of charming stuff in here, and brings a little extra light to the story. And that's kind of all I got for now. But if you have more questions or something, I mean, we'll start heading back. You know, whatever pace you want to head back at. I'm not going to be in the front of the group anymore. I think we're basically, it's just a trail back. I'll probably be more towards the back of the group. But if you have questions or want to chat some more, happy to do that. But I think I've already...
Driving across the bridge and you look to the right, it was right there.
Yeah, but it was right. It was overlooking the cliff. It was actually literally like over the edge of the cliff.
I've never seen this before.
Yeah. It was only like 100 yards from the bridge. So like, if you walked across the bridge and turned right, you walk right into it.
Didn't mean it, but I was there. There was another big house. A guy named Walker.
Well, when I said I wanted to live in the basement, they were like, no. I would never want to live.
But I think it's a little bit.